Good evening and welcome on another beautiful New Smyrna night to the first regular City Commission meeting for Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. We will now come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Cleveland.
Here.
Vice Mayor Perrine.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Thank you.
And now Police Department Chaplain Bill Kitchen will give the invocation. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, when we have a turnout like this, on weather like this, we can just say thank you. Thank you for the power and the beauty, and thank you for our ability just to get here. And I pray that everybody will get home safely, Father. And Father, it seems to me as I was thinking of how to pray tonight that our leaders come in for a lot of criticism when they don't get it right, when maybe their agenda is not your agenda. So I pray tonight, and I thank you for the people up here who are our leaders. And I pray that their agenda will be in sync with yours, Father. And for those of us out here in the seats, the same thing, that we can get it right, that our agenda, what we think and what we say, will be in sync with what you would have us do. So, Father, I pray that this will be a get it right meeting. I thank you. And I pray this in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And now, in honor of National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, our police chief, Chief Eric Feldman, will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. To the Commission, welcome back. To everyone, one and all, Happy New Year. This is the second and final sitting on the dais for this particular commission. It is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, which is a relatively new celebration, started in 2015 to thank the officers for their daily sacrifice, those that they make to every community. Some of the organizations supporting this observance include Concerns for Police Survivors, the FBI National Academy Associates, the Fraternal Order of Police, the International Association of Chief of Police, the Officer Down Memorial Page, the Law Enforcement United, National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, the International Conference of Police Chaplains, and the National Troopers Coalition. To Chief Feldman and your amazing crew, happy Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And I would like to say that every day in New Smyrna is Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the published agenda?
Yes, sir. I have a couple of changes. Number one is we're moving item 7C, as in cat, and that is resolution 02-24. We're moving it to administrative items. And the second thing I'm adding under the city manager report is a special event approval for the Martin Luther King Jr. March on this coming Monday, January 15th.
Got it. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And now it's time for public participation. This is the Commission's favorite part, where we get to listen to our citizenry to tell us what you think. It's a monologue, not a dialogue. We invite you to come forward for 3 minutes and give us your views. If you have somebody you'd like to recognize for doing a particularly great job on the city staff, now's your opportunity to do that. You'll have 3 minutes, as I said. We'll have a light system on the podium there with a counter. You'll have a green light to start, a yellow light when you have a minute to go, and you'll be done at the red light. When you come forward, if you don't mind, just give us your name and your address, and we're happy to hear from you. So please come forward. Good evening, Karen.
Good evening and Happy New Year. I am Karen Francis of 261 Minorca Beach Way. And I'm speaking regarding the former agenda item 7C. I am gobsmacked, that's an English term meaning astounded, and also perplexed as to why and how the city planning team has done a total turnaround since the very recent recommendation of no at the December 4th Planning and Zoning Board meeting. I would really appreciate someone explaining this to us. Please note the Planning and Zoning Board also recommended a no at the December 4th meeting. I was in attendance at this meeting, and all the addresses were explored in excruciatingly depth and for a long time. I've compared the site plan used at the December 4th meeting, and it appears to be the same site plan being used tonight. In fact, they are both dated the 20th of December, 2022. This is a complex issue with complex regulations. If you're talking about building a gazebo in protected mangroves, other agencies would have to be consulted, such as the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Road 3A is a state road, and any changes to that would also have to involve the Department of Transportation. A cost of a proposed boardwalk would be millions, paid for by us, the city taxpayers. I would like you to follow the advice and the recommendation of your Planning and Zoning Board with its very talented and experienced and skilled members. And please vote no. Leave that beautiful space as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
My name is Connie Howard, and I live in New Smyrna Beach, 2707 Hill Street.
Connie,
And-
lift that microphone up so we can hear your
Can you not
voice.
hear me?
Thank you. That's much
Speak
better.
louder.
Thank you, ma'am.
I really want to speak louder.
Please.
So my concern is regarding the resolution for the Racket Tennis Center. It's a resolution that's going to increase the fees, and then also it says the play at the membership. My concern is that I did see this was coming up, not really aware of what the fees were or how they're going to alter that. And I feel like as a member of the Racket Tennis Center, I should be informed of that. And yet this is brought to the City Commission for approval, and the members don't know what it's about. I did find out that it is increased membership. It hasn't happened for a while, so I understand why they would need to do that. I think it's also understanding why the need for the fees and what they're doing at the facilities. There's a lot that work needs to be done. We are still having issues with some of the players tripping on the tapes and the danger of liability there. But I know they're working hard at it, but I would like some transparency in what the increase is going to pay for and what they're going to do with the monies, and also to understand how they're going to alter the play at the Racket Tennis Center. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Appreciate it. City manager will be in touch.
Good evening and Happy New Year. My name is Leslie Sachs, and my address is 816 East 8th Avenue, New Smyrna Beach. I'm talking about item 7C, which has now been moved to new business. This street vacation has been previously denied by 2 planning boards, but passed by the previous commission vote of 4-1, with Commissioner Sachs voting no. There was a reverter clause, and since the outdoor mall was never built, the land luckily reverted back to the city. The new city charter, section 6.04, states transfer of ownership of city-owned land laying contiguous to a water body shall only occur after a unanimous vote of all 5 members of the city commission. This land and surrounding wetland area is vital as a storm buffer. It protects us against flooding and slows down the runoff from the street. Any paving of this area will be against the public good. Keep this land. Who knows, we might need an extra lift station due to our aging infrastructure. That would benefit the public. Please stop giving away assets while raising our taxes. The promise of future taxes collected doesn't mean squat when we are flooded. This land has an intrinsic value which should remain as a city asset. We hear promises of gazebos and public walkways overlooking the waterway. We have heard that before during the Riverwalk condo project. I went to Riverwalk earlier today, and there's no public walkway. So these promises don't mean much. I would rather see natural mangroves that protect us rather than a paved area with a gazebo. Why destroy wetland just to view what is left? Please keep this asset natural. Approving this action only benefits the two landowners on either side. In fact, I implore this applicant to please remove that oversized blighted real estate sold sign that has been erected since May of 2022, which is longer than our sign ordinance allows. I respectfully ask that you vote against this street and parcel vacation and leave it natural or for future government use. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate your remarks.
Good evening. Happy New Year. My name is Greg Flynn. I live at 13202 Newportstown Place, New Smyrna Beach. I, too, would like to address this issue 7C.
Greg, pull that microphone up to your mouth a little bit.
Pull it
Just
up?
pull it up to you. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. Does it sound better?
Much better.
Okay, thank you. I would like to see that land remain as green space. We're losing too much green space as is. And given the fact that the Planning and Zoning Board recommended against converting that land or vacating that land, I think you should follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your remarks.
Hello, I'm Michelle Kelly. I live at 1511 Beacon Street, and I'm just going to reiterate what everyone else has said and ask that you not vacate the right-of-way. I've lived on Beachside since 1987. My husband and I built our house on Beacon, and since then I have seen areas of greenery slowly be paved over, even in my own neighborhood. The walkway on Tide in North Atlantic, the homeowner bricked over the driveway, and also on Beachway and North Peninsula, the homeowners there have taken over the right-of-way. So I know that hopefully this is not a lost cause, but I'm hoping that you will maintain the green areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments, ma'am.
Good evening. Doug Sarno, 253 Minorca Beach Way, New Smyrna Beach. I'm here also to talk about 7C, and I just want to affirm all the comments that have been made so far and to implore the council to always think very hard before changing any green space into hard surface, non-permeable surface, and especially lands that are owned by the city itself. These are a community asset, and I would hope that we're getting a commensurate community benefit from any kind of a giveaway like that. So please implore you to vote no.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Hello, Mr. Billings.
Good evening. I'm Mark Billings, 128 Mangrove Estate Circle in New Smyrna, here tonight representing Habitat for Humanity for Southeast Volusia County. First, I want to thank you for your service and wish you a very happy new year. We're in the process of finalizing our impact statement for the community for this prior year. We're going to talk about in that impact statement the tax base of the 154 homes we built in this community. But tonight, I've heard it once, I've heard it 100 times, no one likes a long-winded executive, so I'm going to yield to my colleagues because specifically we're going to talk tonight about the item that what we've touched and impacted in our community since Hurricane Ian. How apropos that we have this weather tonight. We have rebuilt north of 30 homes that were impacted with the flood in southeast Volusia County, and in some way, over 105 homes with Mr. Bauer, who was going to join me. Ralph, you coming up? Whether it's putting grab bars on widows' homes, repairing their commodes when they're falling through their trailer floors. But it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, our programs executive who oversees the intake for our selection process as well as the program of critical home repair, disaster recovery, as well as our Safe Seniors partnership with Mr. Bauer. I would like to thank Mr. Edwards and Ms. Terry for their support and hard work in putting forth a proposal on the agenda this evening. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Brittany Ryder-Arnold.
Hello, Brittany Ryder Arnold, 11207 Newport Sound Place in beautiful New Smyrna Beach. I just wanted to say thank you for the proposed acceptance of the grant later this evening, as the disadvantaged population in our area is large and we have an amazing critical care repair program. And Ralphie and Jack Travis and so many of our amazing volunteers help those that are disadvantaged in our community have a safe place to live, because we believe that everyone deserves a decent place to live. And if that could just start in New Smyrna Beach, it would be amazing to have that. Just wanted to say thank you, and we appreciate all of your time and consideration and support of our beautiful community.
I'd like to introduce Ralph Bauer. Ralph has volunteered for us north of 20 years, I believe it is. He's a retired machinist from Buffalo, New York. He gives about 25 to 40 hours a week. Last week, he went with me and helped put a stove in a lady's home who's in hospice care in an old trailer. And I just wanted to say thank you publicly for the work he does. I double his salary every day, and he still comes to work. So, Ralphie, thank you.
Yeah, I've been, thank you. I've been with Habitat probably close to 20 years. In the course of that time, this critical home repair we started a thing with Brush with Kindness, which is connected to Habitat, but I think we're one of the few organizations that have that. And we do small repair jobs like fix a faucet or clean a drain, hook up a dishwasher, change a light bulb in some cases, because there's people that can't get on ladders to change light bulbs. But my best, I think I'm most proud of the fact that over the last 20 years, I've helped probably build between 75 and 100 homes here for people in New Smyrna Beach. It's volunteer on my part, and I feel that I owe it to the community, so that's why I do it. Thank you.
Thank you for your work, sir. Thank you. Anyone else for public participation? Dr. Herman.
Good evening, City Commission, Mayor, City staff. Randy Herman, 108 Esther Street. I would second the comment about the weather. I know the pundits are saying 2024 is going to be quite a wild ride, and maybe this is giving us the signal. I'd also like to just add a few comments about item which is now 8B, about the vacation of a piece of land, and I'll try to add something that's different from the previous people. I think one of the things that was addressed, this was thoroughly reviewed by the P&Z, and since then, what you're seeing is something that has been worked on after that, so that Planning and Zoning Commission has not been privy to what is being presented to you tonight, nor was the public that was at that meeting privy to that. And I think that's a process problem that we should really look at. And the second piece, and this is kind of a bigger issue to me, is that oftentimes when we have contentious issues and the other side is being represented by a lawyer, the city is not. The city is represented by planning staff, and who are often very well trained in planning, but they're not lawyers. And I sometimes feel that the playing field is not fair when we get into these contentious issues. I think the second thing, and people have said this, there were many promises made. I would actually applaud Mr. Storch about having a vision. Habitat is an organization that has a magnificent vision, and they actualize it. And I think we lack a vision for Central Beach. And this is one piece of land that the city does have a certain amount of control over, and there is a potential for using that land in a way that perhaps could be more creative than what has been proposed. The other thing is the question of the way the land was deeded to the city and restricted as a public road. Since it was created by deed, not dedication, vacation may not be the proper procedure. The city should get the restriction released and convey the property by deed if it can really legally hand it over to the new owners, which would be the two. And that's a legal question that may need to be reviewed by the staff. It's a little beyond my pay grade. And last, the proposal seems to be reducing the size of the land that they want, if I'm reading it correctly. And that would leave what we could call an orphan parcel. And I don't know if that was to avoid a 5-0 vote that would be required because it's contiguous with the waterway. I don't understand why what they're asking for is less than the actual land, and that maybe need to be looked at all. So I don't think this needs to be fast-tracked. I think it needs further discussion. Certainly, I think a lot of people share a vision of having a link to the waterways, and I think we've really worked hard about transparency, and let's keep to that and give this a little bit more in-depth look. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your remarks, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Pendergast.
Good evening. Jay Pendergast, 5900 South Atlantic. I want to thank the City Commission and City Manager and Assistant City Manager for listening to the Parking Task Force recommendations, moving this forward as quickly as we can, and considering the approval of the LTG proposal tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support. Hi, Cynthia.
Cindy Sneezak, 512 Yukon. I sure was hoping you would cancel because I just got in from Orlando. So I know that you moved the agenda item to administrative. That's fine about the vacation. A couple things, though. I heard the first speaker speak, so I'd like to know how we went 180 degrees, because I've read both the old and the new and listened to the tape again, and it makes me wonder about the process. So I know there were some questions raised at the planning and zoning that there was no choice other than to vacate the land. We couldn't sell it, and there was a lot of noise made about how the city has done nothing with the land in decades, as if that were a reason to not plan to do something with the land. So I'd ask you to think about, particularly Bob's story about the North Causeway and the fact that there was going to be a large shopping plaza where the boat area is now, the boat launches, and that he reflected how glad he was, and that other people probably were too, that there was reconsideration made to that. Perhaps it wasn't economically feasible at the time, but that we would have lost that land forever. And just because it is vacant doesn't mean that we should give it up. I think control is really, really important, more so now than ever, now that I see the vape shop opened with flashing neon signs every night until they close next to Mondelez, which is really an institution and a place I visit too often. The other thing is, while Attorney Storch spoke very passionately and a little aggressively, I think, with the town planner at the P&Z meeting, there was a lot of, there was a lot of feeling that this is really just the most appropriate thing that we can do. And he made some concessions, right? Although it's still next to the dumpster, there's still no shade trees in the public way, and there's no shade trees, no picnic table mentioned. A pavilion could be anything. It could be what I have in my side yard. So when it does come up, if you do give your intent to consider it, when we talk about a public hearing, I think there's many more questions to be answered. Mine happen to focus around permitting and DOT. I walked that parcel on Saturday, and it is literally 10 paces from one curb cut to another. From CVS, you go down 20 paces from curb cut to curb cut, 25 paces. So egress and ingress become really, really important there for traffic purposes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we skipped the city manager report, so just.
Of course we did.
Before you move into the.
It's all part of the deal, Colin.
I say we keep moving.
I think that's
Yeah.
the weather.
Not supposed to call it out, Colin.
That's okay, Colin, and I apologize. And so before we move on to the consent, let's get your report out of the way, sir.
The reason I just wanted, because I had an item there for the special event, so, but let me just go quickly through the reports. As you know, tomorrow we have a special meeting to select a search firm for the new city manager. Also, I updated you on several projects under construction. The 5th Street Bridge, which is the temporary bridge, should be completed by February, and then the project should be done by the end of 2024. The Barracuda Bridge is under construction. We should be completed by May 24. Also reported that the pier at Due East is done. The Rocco Park Pier is under construction, and then the Clancy Park Pier under construction. So I want to make sure, I want to thank the Maintenance Operation Director for his diligence on getting these projects underway. We also have a joint meeting with NSP Utilities on January the 16th at 5:15 in this room. Also, Commissioner Martin will be holding a community meeting with the Flagler business and property owners on January the 17th at the Coronado Civic Center at 6 o'clock. The Chamber Expo is on February the 17th, so we will be participating in that. And then the last meeting, we had quite a bit of public participants. A lot of them were directing to 2 agenda items that they were approved. There was one item there that required some action, and that was for the roosters on Flagler Avenue, and also to install some signs. Our PD has been working on removing some of these aggressive roosters. And also, I heard that the church, they removed one of them. So we'll continue to do that by getting the aggressive ones. There is some that are okay, and then some that they're not. As I mentioned, I want to add the agenda item for a special event for the Martin Luther King Jr. March on January 15th. They did not submit the application. They had the application. We just got it today. So I directed the Leisure Services Director to contact the police, fire, maintenance operation, and building departments. And so all of them have reviewed the application. They have no issues with it, but I have made the comment to Mr. Neal that we need to have the application for next year, probably sometime in October, way in advance, so we could consider it and put it on the agenda. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Any questions from any commissioner for the city manager's report? Colin, very good. I know that Pastor Coates is a Marine. He will get that application in all the time, every time, next time that it comes up. So I've seen his work. And also for everyone, my sincere apologies. The reason we do the city manager's report before public participation is just so you can know that your voices do not lie fallow and go into the ether. We actually listen to what you're saying, and the city manager makes a report and responds to each and every one of the items that are brought up for public participation. I'd like you to hear that before you come back to the next meeting, so that you know that your words have been heard. So my apologies. On to the consent agenda. Is there any commissioner would like to remove any of the items laid before us? Vice Mayor? Nothing from you. Commissioner Martin?
We definitely clarified that 7C is going to administrative items.
It's going to be 8B.
getting it doubly on the record.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Good.
7F.
7 Foxtrot. Very good. Any comments on any of the items that don't need to be pulled, but you'd like to make a comment on? Anybody? Just on 7J, then, if you don't mind. It's my understanding that that's the air conditioner for the Brandon Center, which very soon the maintenance operations staff will be maintaining and running and overseeing all the air conditioners rather than each department going forward. Right?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Excellent. With that in mind, may I entertain a motion to approve item 7A, B, D, E, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Preen?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll move on now to administrative and new business. Item 8A is the,
Sir?
7F.
7F.
7F. I'm sorry. We're going to go back to 7F. Very good. 7F is the consideration of the FY 23-24 Homeless and Disadvantaged Grant Fund Awards to local nonprofit organizations and/or disadvantaged programs. I see Manager Terry in front of us. Irma, welcome, and let's hear your report.
Happy New Year to everyone.
I think Commissioner Martin has a question. So go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is that I asked for an explanation. I got a different list of people that were actually going to receive the grant, so I just want to go on public record as to what organizations are going to receive those grants as outlined in the agenda item and then also in the budget. So just so that we're all on the same page, and I know some people used to work for this organization, now work for this organization, so there may have been some confusion or just copy and pasting. I just want to make sure on the public record who is going to get it.
Thank you, and I do apologize for that error. So the programs that I am recommending to receive funding for the Homeless and Disadvantaged Grant is as follows. Southeast Volusia Habitat for Humanity, God's Bathhouse, Under the Stars Mission, Kudos Unhooked, the Housing Authority of the City of New Smyrna Beach, the Church Parish Nurse Ministries, Bike Hash, and Haircuts.
So with that, I'll make a motion to approve 7F.
There's a motion and a second, and any discussion? I have one item for your consideration, Irma. I've had a chat with the city manager about. Do you get feedback for how that money is used and what capability we're enabling and how effective the money is? In other words, any report of key performance indicators? Hey, God's Bathhouse, for example, we provided this many showers, this many haircuts, this many bikes, whatever the item is. Do you get any feedback for how the money is spent?
Yes, I do require a quarterly report as well as an annual report that covers those questions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Preen?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Terry. Okay, and now I think we're going to move on to the administrative items and new business. Item 8A, which is consideration for the approval of the proposal for LTG Engineering and Planning regarding the Parking Task Force recommendations. City Manager, your report, sir?
Yes, thank you. As you recall, at the end of the Parking Task Force recommendations and during the presentation to the Commission has directed the City Manager to get a proposal from our traffic consultants to try to come up with an action plan for the recommendations of the task force. So we have a couple of consultants on board that we select from. So that kind of cut down on to go for an RFQ and make the selection. That takes between 4 to 6 months. That's why we have this pool of consultants for different categories that we choose from. So I approached LTG to give us a proposal. We met with Mr. Sands Lassiter, and also I included our assistant city manager, our police chief, and also some of the parking enforcement supervisor, and as well as the former parking task force chairman. We discussed, we gave him the recommendations. We discussed exactly what we're looking for in terms of his services. He divided his proposal into 8 categories or 8 tasks. So task 1 is, that is the project kickoff and the coordination. And task 2 was to data collection and the research. And task 3 is to explore parking payments app, a 6-month pilot program. Task 4 is explore seasonal remote parking and dynamic wayfinding pilot program. Task 5 is community outreach and engagement. And task 6 is establish a mobility department. And task 7 is provide final recommendations and implementation plan. And each task has subcategories in it. The fee for this proposal that we negotiated with Mr. Lassiter is $83,300. It does have a timeline. So if the commission approves his proposal tonight, we will move forward with signing the agreement with them, and he will start immediately. But it would take about 8 months from beginning to end when we actually provide for you all the tasks that I mentioned. With that, my recommendation is to award the contract to LTG to proceed on this action plan for the recommendation of the parking task force.
Thank you, sir. Would you opine on the cost? It's $83,000. Was that what you expected, or was it different?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think when this was mentioned early on, during the presentation of the parking task force, I think somebody mentioned 20,000, and I recall I mentioned I'd like to see that consultant who's going to do it for 20,000. My expectation was in the range of 100 to 125. So I think Mr. Lassiter has provided a well-detailed proposal for us at a reasonable cost. You have the cost attached to this agenda item in details. So I think the cost and the fee is reasonable.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from any commissioner?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor? No? Commissioner Martin?
Just a couple of questions. I noticed that, we're talking about month 1, month 2, and particularly Beachside, which month 1 is critical. Beachside Saturday at 10 a.m. for a sunny July is really very different from Saturday at 10 in March. So where we start that baseline for analysis that month, I think, is a very important component. And also, parking requirements are different at 8 p.m. than 6 p.m., and August is different from February. So I understand why we need to encapsulate the data collection time, but I also think we need to be really aware of what you're learning on one day at 1 hour you cannot apply to the other 365 days. So that was one concern I had. Then there's also task 6. I'm just requesting that sidewalks and bike paths and racks be included as a component of mobility. Non-electric feet and bikes are still mobility options. I also am curious about any plan for ongoing funding source for department and staff for such a department. And I also had a question about the current collection rate of parking tickets, assuming that we're using the parking fund to fund what would be the mobility department. And last, just a simple question, who is to be designated as liaison with LTG?
Well, let's take it one question at a
Sure.
time. So the first question you had, if you repeat the question.
Well, it's how do we choose month
about,
one?
The timing. So, again, the direction from the commission was, let's get this as quickly as possible.
I understand.
Now, if you want to wait for the data to be collected in July, then that could be done. I don't think there'd be a problem with that, and I understand exactly what you're looking for. So that's something we could discuss with him and see if we could maybe manipulate and have it instead of being in, say, in January, February. Then let's see if we could.
Well, I'm not so sure that it would be bad to have it collected in February or March. A wise person, planning person, once talked about planning to what he called Black Friday, which means that you pave everything over in the expectation of that one day a year. And so I'm not really a fan of taking away a lot of our space and our shops to plan for those hours during the year when it's a problem. So I'm not saying I'm opposed to March or February. I'm just saying that we do want to keep that. I would like to know.
Very good, thank you. What was the second question?
The mobility, the description for the mobility department, task 6. It references accommodations for electric bikes and scooters, and I thought we had lost a fondness for electric scooters a few years ago, but I'm saying non-electric feet and bikes are still a mobility option. Can we include those?
Sure we can.
And okay, so we're going to include the non-electric mobility options. The ongoing funding source for the department and staff?
Yeah. I mean, that's the funding for this, the whole entire mobility department would be out of the parking funds.
Now, so this is somewhat curious, we're planning on charging for the parking, I assume.
Yeah, well, based on the action plan, depending on, right now, as you know, we only charge for the off-beach parking. But if it's through this study that we find that we have to charge for on-street parking, then that becomes a different story. But to establish the department, obviously, it's not going to be as simple as just establish. We have to look at the entire, the structure for it, and then also to look at, in terms of the funding and in terms of the function.
Mm-hmm. And I sort of, there's a little bit of a chuckle in, if we were successful in providing sufficient parking, that we would not need to use parking tickets. How would we help pay for that department? So it's a bit of a, a circle there. And I want it just to be taken into careful consideration every step of the way. It's an ongoing big cost.
It is, but then again, it's if you look at our parking fund, it has been healthy, and just on the off-beach parking and on the boat ramps. So
it is. It's just that this is an ongoing.
I think funding the department, if we come up with an action plan again, to expand our services and our pay parking, I think that will be probably paid by itself.
So we will continue to keep in mind that this is not a one-time charge, but an ongoing charge, right down to pension plans for staff.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we know the current collection rate of parking tickets? I saw the statement about, 747,000 in unpaid tickets, but
I'm not sure if that number is accurate. The chief is here, but I remember.
I'm not asking for dollars, just general rate.
I know. I think the last time that I remember last year was in the range of 250 to 300,000. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that 25% of the parking tickets issued? Is that 75% of the parking tickets issued?
I cannot answer that question.
Yeah, I think the percentage rather than the dollar is germane, if you will.
I want to say that it was 13%, but maybe I'm, maybe I'm wrong, but
So a lot has changed in the last 5 years in the way that we collect, and the total unpaid amount of parking tickets is in the realm of $700,000. But that's why we're implementing some changes to try to recoup some of that unpaid revenue to the city. As far as the percentage, Commissioner, of how many tickets are written, I don't have that for you, but I can certainly circle back to the city manager and get that.
I think that's really important information. I know if I were coming down here for a week from Vermont, I sure wouldn't care if you gave me a parking ticket. So, so how effective these tickets are is an important component also.
I think the thing to consider are the two major changes that we're just now implementing that agreed are long overdue. But with the rewrite of the ordinance that you all approved last April, we are now booting cars with 3 or more unpaid tickets, and you can't get that boot off without paying all of those unpaid tickets. And more importantly, I think probably more effective is the fact that through Duncan, which is our new systems administrator for parking, the unpaid parking tickets are reported to the Department of Motor Vehicles, meaning you can't renew your registration on your vehicle without paying those parking tickets either. So I think those two things alone are going to cause some compliance that we haven't seen in the past.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then my last question is, who's to be designated as the liaison? It's referenced in the proposal. but-
right now it will be the assistant city manager.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Those are my questions.
Did you have the opportunity to ask him these questions in the pre-brief that we all get?
No, I had an abbreviated.
Okay, I got you.
thing.
Because I
And
want to have a robust discussion about it, but I don't feel comfortable throwing those questions to him on the fly. And we all get a pre-brief where we have ample opportunity to ask all the questions in the world rather than have the robust discussion in front of the world. So I'm delighted that you got it all surfaced and that Khalid was able to answer those. I liked, and that he did it on the fly. Thank you for doing that. Any other questions?
Mayor?
Any other questions from you, Commissioner Martin?
No,
Very good. Yes, sir.
I just had two concerns for staff to consider when they negotiate the final contract, is that any data that's collected actually belongs to us. I thought I read somewhere, and I may have misread it, where the vendor gets to keep the data. It's not ours. We don't own it. It's their data. But I think we should own all of that data going forward. And then the other thing, in the community outreach task number 5, where we talk about 6 individual activists, I think those activists need to be non-business owners. We have a parking task force was made up of citizens, but a lot of those citizens were also business owners. So those people who, are directly affected but not dependent on that, weren't a part of that I don't think it was a part of that process. And I think as we go forward, I think we need to add those people. The city has a number of parking activists in the location, and I think certainly that, we could access a couple of those people to also be on that outreach program so that we make sure that we cover all of our bases going forward. If we're going to spend this time and money into doing this kind of a study, then it needs to be an inclusive study. So I would just appreciate it if we do that going forward.
I agree.
Love that idea. Any other discussion? Yes, Commissioner McGirt.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make the point that we create a lot of studies. I hope this one is going to be different and something that's going to be very useful. I'm not excited about spending $83,000 for another parking study. What I want to come from this is action. Action from the staff, action from us. I want to hold ourselves accountable in moving forward. So what I want to come from this study is specific, concrete information that's going to allow us to make decisions. Because God knows how many studies we've done, and they're all very expensive. $83,000 is a lot of money for it just to be another study. So I think we need to, I hope the parking task force, this is the direction they wanted us to go. Once we get this study, I want to be aggressive with the information and moving forward and acting. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could echo both Commissioner Hartman's remarks about the tenor of the constituency needs to have the resident flavor loud and clear. And so I think you can do that through a refined selection process. We thought we had a good selection process for the parking task force, and it was very good. Every member there was a resident, save one, a technical resident, and many were also business owners, which makes them divided in how they address their attention, their livelihood or their home life. So I like that. And then for Commissioner McGurk, who has been here before when a parking task force was put forward and nothing was acted on, just for all of us, if we don't pull the trigger on this, we will never, the credibility of our process will be at stake. So this is our opportunity to move forward. And it doesn't mean it's in concrete. We can move forward and make mistakes and fix our mistakes, but doing nothing is just not an option from my view. Yes, sir.
And Mayor, I will assure you, you give me the green lights and you'll have action. So I remember from the past parking task force, the only one that we got the green light was to establish the paid parking, and we did it. So we get the green lights, and I'll assure you that the actions will be immediately. So.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Most of that is for us, for our own attention. To the residents want us to act. They want us to do something. The business owners want us to do something. And so, in the name of progress, we should act on the parking task force's recommendations and hope that we get a great recommendation from the licensed, certificated, and proven commodity and a consultant, and follow their advice. So hearing that, is there a motion to approve item 8A?
Move to approve.
Have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Just to clarify, the motion includes having resident non-business owners on the, as Commissioner Hartman suggested.
Let me read it for you. It's approval of the proposal. We're approving the proposal from the engineering and planning company. And I think we can meld, we can talk to him about who we want on there.
Oh, so we're not including the suggestion from Commissioner Hartman,
It's
is
not
that
part
correct?
of the motion is about approving the consultant.
I can amend my motion to include, for a focus, to include the residents who are not business owners.
Thank you.
Objection for the modification? Nobody objecting? Very good. So the modification is that we will put the restriction on we'll put the premise that the representation from the citizenry promotes citizens that are residents and not necessarily business owners. That will be emphasized.
As amended, Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Preen?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now on to item 8B, which was 7C. It's consideration of Resolution 0224, the adoption of a resolution which, if adopted, would express the intent of the City Commission to vacate a portion of platted Cooper Street. This section of unopened right-of-way is located south of East 3rd Avenue between South Peninsula Avenue and Saxon Boulevard. Madam Assistant City Attorney, would you set this up, please, ma'am?
Yes, Mayor. So just to be clear, what will happen tonight or what's going on tonight is a resolution to be considered by the City Council as to move forward with a vacation of the right-of-way. This is really just a procedural step dictated by our code under Section 70-36, vacation or change of name. It declares that we shall pass a resolution declaring our intention to do so. This is kind of that step in the transparency area where we're showing what our intent is. Then we will move forward with ordinances, and at second reading, you all will vote on the ordinance to go forward from there. This is really, again, that step in the intent to vacate the right-of-way at this point in time. It's a procedural step that we're just doing tonight to get to the ordinance.
I have some questions. Or any commissioner have a question for the city attorney on the setup? So just for the clarification before Bob gets started, this is not an approval to vacate.
Correct.
This is when that process will take place at a first and second reading. And will it be a quasi-judicial?
So it will take place at the first and second reading. My reading of it and my understanding of it is more legislative than quasi-judicial.
Got
This is
it.
a discretionary item for the commission to decide. However, you will get presented information and facts from both parties to weigh your decision as to whether it's needed for the public good anymore.
So the intent is for us to, the question that is before us is whether we have any intent to listen to any more information after tonight and move forward after we hear what Bob has to say, and to listen to more from the applicant and from the city after we hear whatever Mr. Mathan has tonight. That's
Right.
the decision.
Tonight's resolution is for you to show your intent to move forward with a vacation. Later on at the resolution, you could choose to not vote for the vacation after such information is presented.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Mr. Mathan, Senior Planner, thank you for coming, and we're ready to hear what you have to say, sir.
Yes, sir. So as shown on the location map, the area that's shaded in black is the location of the requested vacation section of Cooper Street. The subject portion of the public right-of-way is 75 feet by 135 feet deep. It's generally located south of East 3rd Avenue, west of Saxon Avenue, within the first edition of the J.Y. Detweiler subdivision plat. They have provided a survey with legal description so that we actually have a legal area of what's requested to be vacated. The request would contain approximately 13,125 square feet that's adjacent to a commercial businesses to the west and a proposed new business to the east. The request to equally divide the proposed vacated right-of-way between those two property owners. So under section 70-36 of the City Code of Ordinances, a resolution must be approved before an ordinance can be presented to the City Commission as part of a second reading and a public hearing. So staff has provided an aerial showing the proposed area to be vacated. This aerial shows that the distance from the proposed vacation to any waterway is over 200 feet past the request. Staff also is presenting some site photos showing Brazilian peppers and possible evidence of a camp. So under section 305.03, paragraph C, subparagraph 1 of the LDR requires that the city planner shall review the application package for consistency with the city's comprehensive plan and the land development regulation. And two, in addition to that, they should determine whether or not the proposed vacation would be in the interest of the public good. So at the regular scheduled meeting on December 4th, 2023, the Planning and Zoning Board voted at 3-4, a failed motion to give a positive recommendation to the City Commission to approve the requested vacation of Cooper Street. That motion was based on a previous staff recommendation, staff report, and staff exhibits. During that meeting, the applicant provided additional exhibits and materials that staff actually was unaware of. Since the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, staff has actually negotiated 15 conditions with the applicant that was not part of the original staff report. The new agreed upon conditions, 6 sections of the comprehensive plan that were referenced have now been satisfied. With the larger trees and the landscaping, upgraded current landscaping, better egress to both of the commercial properties, proposed public view and pavilion, proposed public boardwalk, and also dedicated parking, the improvements would benefit to the public and the future customers of both commercial properties. So the result determination of the staff's recommendation to the City Commission is this meets the required interest of the public good and would provide benefit to the general public, the applicant, and any adjacent property owners. The applicant did provide a conceptual plan of the proposed boardwalk. These items were not presented to staff at the time of the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We do have those now. As you can see, their plan is to have an elevated boardwalk and do a public access easement, which is what is shaded on the south end of that conceptual plan. They've also shaded areas of public access points, their proposed pavilion, and they also have dedicated parking. The arrow to the top, it shows where they would propose to try to have some elevated boardwalk that would go all the way from Saxon Avenue to the proposed hotel site. And as of today, the representative for the applicant assured that they have received that easement proposal from the hotel site. So right now, they still have to get with CVS to try to get an eastern leg of that. So with that, that's a brief description of a 30-page staff report that was in front of you, and I'm subject to any questions that the board or the commission may have.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, your remarks.
Just want to add a few facts. This is not a city property. It's a public right-of-way, public dedicated right-of-way. So there's a big difference between a city property and a public dedicated right-of-way. So back what you saw early on with the plats, when they developed that whole area, they dedicated the 75 foot for public use as far as road or utilities. So if there is no public use for them, then it has to refer back to the adjacent properties. As of today, we have no use for it, so I cannot make it a park because it's a public right-of-way. I could make a detention area. I could make a road there, but where is this road is gonna lead to? I have no place for it. As far as we have something in the charter, because we got some emails that says, well, in the charter it says if you have a city property that abuts a named waterway, that it has to have the supermajority from the commission. And that is correct for a city property. This is not a city property, number one. And number two, it does not abut a named water body. This is a marsh there. So just want to make sure that you have those facts before you. So we have asked the utilities, we have asked maintenance operation, we have asked engineering if there is any use for it. I remember there was almost a similar situation within the Central Beach area where they want to vacate the right-of-way, and they have asked us, and I said no, because I might need it for drainage, I might need it for other utility issues. But in this particular one, somebody mentioned about taxes. If this is developed, there will be taxes on it, so we actually will receive more taxes, more than what it is today. There's quite a bit of Brazilian pepper that it's an invasive plant there. So there is some mangroves, but if it's developed, they have to go through the DEP permitting and the St. John's and the city as well. So if you have any questions,
Thank you. Any questions from any commissioner for Mr. Mathan or the city manager? And we'll start with the vice mayor.
Yes, I do. I believe we heard from a citizen that they felt this should go back to P&Z because new information has been presented. Is that the case? Do we need to do that?
based on what I discussed with legal, it does not have to go back to the planning and zoning board. It's coming to the commission, and the commission will decide what happened. And I asked Bob at the time, after the meeting, because there was some information that he did not have before the meeting when he prepared his staff report. That information was provided by the applicant at the meeting, but his recommendation was already provided to the Planning and Zoning Board. So based on what I got from legal, it doesn't have to go back to the Planning and Zoning Board.
So just to follow up on Commissioner Perrine's question, I got the legality, doesn't have to. In your view, in your professional view, both of you, would it be prudent to send back and let the body who does this for the city on a regular basis with your coaching, Bob, does it make sense to have them have another look at it? Is there a value in that to you or to the commission?
Well, for me, the vote was a split vote. It was 3-3 and a deciding fourth vote for no. I have had Planning and Zoning Board members contact me that they would actually change their vote if they had the additional information would have been provided with staff report. So I think if we go back to P&Z, I can't vote for them, but they probably would be a favorable vote. It was 4-3 now. It could be 3-4. Could be 4-3 again. So
Something for us to consider in light of the public outcry about how sensitive the issue is, and just to listen to have the appearance and in fact of not rushing to judgment. And not that this evening is a judgment, but I like process, and I like to have a lot of eyes on things. And now, Bob, that you now have the information you would have loved to have had prior to your presentation, now that you have that and all the facts and all the info's in, perhaps it would be an honor to our P&Z to pay them tribute and say, now we want to make sure you guys get another stab at it. Just an idea.
And if that's the wish of the commission, I'll be glad to take that back if that's what.
I have one more. We also received an email from a citizen that questioned why wouldn't we put this off until we see the PUD for the hotel, and I don't see a purpose of that. And I wondered if there is a reason why we would delay that regarding the hotel.
Well, the only involvement with the hotel is granting a public easement for the potential future boardwalk. And it would be paid for by the actual applicant that's asking for the vacation. So the hotel would not be paying for the boardwalk. The boardwalk would be paid entirely by the applicant.
I like the changes you've made. The only thing I would like to do and see is that the P&Z has the opportunity to approve this so that we don't override them.
Yeah. We also included a timeline as well as one of the conditions. So if nothing happens in 3 years, it would come back to the city.
Thank you. Commissioner Martin, any questions for the city manager? Any questions for Mr. Mathan?
I couldn't see a survey in the packet. Now, no problem, I could be blind.
He showed it before, it's right there.
Is it this, okay, so that is now the extension below. Okay, there's two separate, what almost looks like two separate parcels, in which are shown as two separate yellow dotted lines. Are we talking about both pieces or just the northern piece?
They are requesting for the 75 by 135, which is the actual right-of-way as per the plat, and they're asking for an additional 40 feet to the rear of that.
The highlighted.
So they want the original plat plus part of the southern section,
Correct.
which is curious because now we have another piece of something to discuss, and it seems to me it should be an all or nothing. Did you say that the DEP has been consulted about the mangroves?
No, the DP has not been insulted.
So we don't have any idea whether any of this would be approved by DEP?
That is correct. So that'd be up to the applicant to pursue that and bring that back to you.
Okay, now I am very much disconcerted about making a vote based on an affirmation that we will get the easement for the property that may or may not be sold before the easement's done, and for CVS, and for a project that's really big and really through mangroves. So that red boardwalk really feels uncomfortable to me to have it included in this packet at this time. So there's just a lot of uncertainty. I think taking it back to P&Z would also give people time to, shall we say, clear up some of these muddy issues. Right-of-way versus city-owned parcel versus this, that, and the other. So I don't think it's ready for prime time for a vote to move forward.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Commissioner McGurk?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say this. I'm getting a lot of responses in the community about this, and I want to acknowledge that not only do I understand that, but I appreciate that. This is something that is, it's a right-of-way. People are going to be very passionate about it, and I understand all the concern and all the questions. So I appreciate that, and I like the dynamic going on here, where do we send it back to P&Z, so on and so forth. I like the discussion we're having. We're having a good, healthy debate here. This is going to vet this thing well. So with that said, along the lines of Commissioner Martin, tell me what's going on. So there's the right-of-way, which is a certain length. It's roughly 135 feet of depth. And then there's an extra 40 feet.
Correct.
Okay. So that's why we have this one.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Thank you. That was my question regarding the property.
Right.
This boardwalk thing, I need some clarity on it. The applicant, in this case, is going to offer to or be required to build the entire boardwalk from the hotel property to Saxon?
If they can get the public easements, they have agreed to install the entire boardwalk and have it as public access from Saxon to the hotel site.
Okay.
They're estimating to be 5,500 square feet of boardwalk.
Bob,
That's
have you got this commitment from who?
This commitment was from their attorney.
Okay. That,
It was one of
That's
the
a- that's a
15
heck of a-
one of the
that's a-
15 criteria that was agreed upon with his clients.
okay. That's a heck of a commitment. That's going to be a lot of money. In the past, this was always going to be a public-private partnership in the context of properties would put in their portion, the city would be part of it because it would be on an estuary, and it was going to be something. And the idea and theory originally behind it was going to be this public-private type partnership where we're going to get and build a beautiful boardwalk along this estuary. So I'm digesting it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So,
Commissioner.
so if we vacate it, and then each property owner would get half of that property. So whatever they do will still have to come back before the planning board. Any concept, any parking lot, plans, all that still has to go back before us. The details on the gazebo would come before planning as to how big it is, what it is, et cetera, et cetera. So that's still a part of this process.
Correct. So the
Correct.
plan we're seeing now is very concept in nature.
Right.
It's not actually ready to be submitted to us in this type of format.
Exactly.
But yes, they will have to submit a site plan because the parking lot they propose is going to require the site plan to be submitted. So,
Okay.
so when we look at a site plan, if it does get vacated, they do have this public space. All that's going to have to be on that site plan that gets reviewed. Once it's approved, they have a year to put it in.
Right.
So if they don't put it in with a year, then that would resort back to us. Or if they don't do anything for 3 years, it would resort back to the city.
But Bob, I think what Commissioner Hartman is asking would this have to go back to the Planning and Zoning Board for this parking?
Yes, so once you have more than 50 parking spots, it becomes a Class 3.
Okay.
So by the time you start adding all the parking spots, not only for the Mondelez, once you reach the 50, it has to go to Planning and Zoning Board. Or if you have over 25,000 square foot of building space.
So whatever the final project is going to be, it still has to go back before the planning and zoning board.
Correct. And we can also make that as a stipulation if you want to have that in the motion
All right.
at a future public meeting.
So with the idea that the vacation goes back to planning and zoning board, will you be able to get it back to them at the next meeting, which is before our next meeting? Or we're going to put the whole project out another 30 days?
I probably can have this available for the February Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay.
So, I mean, all the materials are there. We just have to make sure that we can meet whatever advertisement in the newspaper. If we can meet the advertisement, then yes, we can have it on the February.
Because we'll do the resolution to vacate, then it has to come back as an ordinance. So our first reading of the ordinance would have been after it gets back to the planning and zoning board for evaluation.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Once it comes here, it's a 6-week process for the resolution and then 2 readings.
Right.
I mean, it's possible we could have the first reading January 23rd and the second reading February
Yeah, but he's asking
13th,
about
which would
February.
be after that. But if the ordinance first reading was February 13th and then the second reading was February 27th, then it would be, either way, typically your second reading is when you make your decision. So either way, it would come after that.
So, yeah, so either way, before we say yay or nay, it would have been back before the Planning and Zoning Board, and we would truly know what their recommendation would have been.
So if you take it to the Planning and Zoning Board, they're meeting on the February 5th.
Correct.
Right.
So the first reading would be on the 13th of February, and then the second reading would be on the 27th.
So we could have the first reading on the 23rd of January.
You could,
But if
and
you
then
go
have
back
your
before
second
that-
reading on the 13th of
Right.
February.
Okay.
Yeah, anything else, Commissioner Hartman?
No, that's it.
All right, Commissioner McGurk, reattack.
So Bob, this comes back as a site plan. Tonight is to determine whether or not we go forward. So the site plan is going to go back before the Planning and Zoning Board. Okay. I just question whether or not how much redundancy we're going to have sending it back to the Planning and Zoning. Planning and Zoning is going to have a chance to take a look at it when it comes back as before first reading to us. So they're going to get more time to see this before we even vote on it.
The parking issue is not going to the Planning and Zoning Board. Only the conditions of the vacation are going back to the Planning and Zoning Board at this time.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, if it did not go back before Planning and Zoning right now, and we voted on this tonight, it still goes back to Planning and Zoning before we see it again as an ordinance.
No,
No?
it'll take time for a site plan review. Once they apply for their site plan review, it's going to take time for us to review that.
What I'm, okay.
We're talking apples and oranges here. He's right, and you're right, Bob. You're talking about two different things.
Right.
We will not, this is just to show our intent. This will come back here
Yes.
once and twice to be voted on before we ever move toward what we're going to use it for, parking, tree huts, whatever.
Correct.
So,
So let me play out the scenario in my head. We approve this tonight. The applicant moves forward with it now, with the staff. They start doing their work to then put the site plan together. When the site plan is ready to go, they're a month from now, 6 months from now, whatever. Planning and Zoning is going to get that site plan before us. The site plan goes before the Planning and Zoning Board, correct?
Correct. The final approval for the site plan will go to the Planning and
Yes.
Zoning Board.
So my point is, Planning and Zoning will get it before we do, if we approve this tonight. So my question is, do we need to go back before the Planning and if the Planning and Zoning Board it doesn't like it, they have the chance to deny the site plan. And they're going to deny it, not because necessarily they don't like the site plan, they just don't like the project overall. They don't agree with wanting to use the public, get rid of the public right away. So what I'm just saying, do we need the redundancy in because there's been discussion of kicking this back to the Planning and Zoning before we see this, before we make our ruling on this issue tonight,
But
right?
I think Commissioner McGurk, what Bob was trying to say is, the site plan is not ready. So it's not like it's gonna go, you know what I'm saying? So you will see you're gonna make an action on this way before the site plan being going to the Planning and Zoning Board. That's what he was trying to say.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is I don't think it needs to go back for the Planning and Zoning Board for our approval tonight. Because Planning and Zoning is going to get it again during the site plan.
Exactly.
So my point is, if we're talking about, there was some discussion on, do we send it back to Planning and Zoning before we hear this portion of it? Is that correct, or was I misunderstanding that discussion? Okay.
But the planning, if we send it back to the Planning and Zoning Board, the only thing they're going to address is whether or not they would be in favor of the vacation. So if we approve it tonight and go through the first and the second reading, then we actually have vacated the property before the Planning and Zoning Board would actually get a second look at the vacation part of it. I'm confident, having been at that meeting, that there may be a different outcome if they know all the facts that are now present. So I think that's, yes, it's an extra step, but I think it's an extra step that we probably should take. In the efforts of transparency and everything else. And, I know, I also know that, this was done over the holiday weekends. So there was a lot of lack of communications between their applicant and our staff and things like that. So I certainly think that we should move forward. My opinion is that we should move forward with it, with the vacation of it, and then send it back to the planning and zoning before we make our final ruling at the second reading.
I guess my question is, what are we trying to accomplish?
Transparency.
I didn't understand your last okay.
It's transparency. I mean, you've given information to the planning and zoning board, and they based it on that information, yet all this information is now changed, and there's more things out there that they weren't aware of. So a lot of the comments that I've been getting is that if the planning and zoning board denied it, why are we going to approve it? And I think in order to give them a fair opportunity to have all of the material before them to make their decision, I think the right thing to do would be to send it back to them. Now, if they deny it, then it still comes back to us as to whether or not, we're going to overstep those boundaries or not. And again, one of those who voted against it would have to vote to reconsider, their motion. So it has to come back to their next planning and zoning meeting.
And I can't guarantee the outcome if it
No,
goes
no.
back, but I'll be glad to start on it tomorrow morning to get
Yeah,
that
right.
happening for you.
Yeah.
So your idea is to take it back to the Planning and Zoning Board for February 5th, while we do our first reading on the 23rd of January.
Yes.
So you're saying, but you have to take an action tonight whether on the intent in order to provide the first reading of the ordinance.
Right, so I'm in favor of making a motion to proceed with the vacation.
No, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
this is what your intent is.
Right,
So.
with the idea that the planning and zoning board would get this again with all of the information that is now current today. And whatever the outcome of that vote is, the outcome of that vote, if they're willing to do that. They may say, oh, no, we've already decided and we don't want to address it. And it still will come to us at the second reading and we'll have that information. Information is not a bad thing. And every day you don't learn something new is a day that you've wasted, so.
Just so that we get the ordinance written correctly and
Right.
everything like that, if we could possibly push it to the first meeting in February for the ordinance, since it closed tonight anyway for the agenda, and then the second reading, that gives us plenty of time to slow the process down, fully vet it, give planning and zoning, and you guys to ordinance. You can still go for it tonight.
Right.
We'll just have first reading be the first meeting in February.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that because like Bob has mentioned, for them to do a site plan, they're waiting on what this process is going to be before they finalize all that. So it's going to take months probably to go through the whole process.
They still have to hire an engineering firm, design
Yes.
stormwater, whole
DEP
nine
and
yards.
everybody else.
Question for clarity.
And just for clarity, yeah, go ahead.
What you're saying is we vote on it tonight, but still send it back to planning and zoning.
Right.
It has to go there anyway.
Just for the
move forward.
vacation. I mean, that's the only thing they.
But that's what
addressed
so they voted no on the vacation.
was- Right.
So we vote on it tonight, and regardless of how it goes tonight, we're going to send it back to planning and zoning on the vacation. Now, we're not talking about any site plans or anything like that. On the same issue they already heard.
No. City Attorney, square me away. If we vote no on the vacation, on the intent, it's done.
Correct, it would be
So
done at that
nothing
point.
goes anywhere. If we say no tonight on the intent, we're done. If we say yes on the intent tonight, either way, whether we defer to planning and zoning as a first step, on its second step, it still goes to planning and zoning to look at it again before we ever see it. And if they vote no twice, then that's really a signal.
Well, they're voting no twice on the vacation, but we're not voting on the vacation any longer. We're voting, our next up to bat is going to be on the first ordinance.
Well, so tonight you're not voting on the vacation. You're voting on the
get
intent to go forward on the vacation. The
I just got it.
ordinances
I got
will
I
vacate.
I got it.
Okay, yeah.
Let me, okay,
Light bulb
I
went
got
on.
where you're going.
I love it. Commissioner Martin.
Well, I continue to be concerned about making any decision with, as I'm looking at the screen now, that's really an emotional thing. Oh, isn't that lovely? We're going to have this multi-million-dollar walkway. We have no idea whether that can be constructed. None. How can we use that as a component of our decision about whether to move forward when we have no idea whether that can be built? The other question I have is just a simple one. What class would the site plan be? Are the Mondelez and the Oceans considered one site plan? Pardon?
Class 3.
It is a
because it has
class
to go
3.
to the B and Z, so that's class 3.
But I was checking, just
Right.
wanted to clarify that class 3. So deep concerns. Suddenly we are now left with, first of all, even if we did vacate it, we have this very small little orphaned piece of land that somebody may come to us and say, well, we want that. I mean, it just doesn't seem logical to me to leave that one little orphan piece. But more than that, to make any decision tonight based on an element that we have no way of knowing would ever come to fruition, I have a problem with that. Thank you.
Bob, could you go to the survey? So what are you saying, Commissioner? I mean,
If we look at the extension down there, we have
Okay.
seen on, that they only want, that there are in fact 2 parcels there, right? And they want 40 feet of the second southern parcel. So I'm just sort of confused. Now we have this little piece down here that's still part of the original Cooper platted right-of-way. And I'm not sure that, I think we should look at it in toto, not in piece parts.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this one here, where you got the check mark, and it shows like it's 285 feet, I guess, or 65 feet.
Yeah.
That's going almost to the marsh. So really, it's not a usable property you're talking about. I'm talking about this.
Are we clear that the 40 feet in front of it's usable? We don't have any, that I have noticed, any delineation on that parcel or parcels of where the mangroves begin, and we know those are protected. So that's another piece of information we don't have, is whether the DEP would entertain this. So we're talking about putting a lot of staff time, we're talking about putting a lot of board time into a project that may not go forward because DEP may say no, and we have no firm commitment over this extended boardwalk. I don't think we have enough information to make a reasonable decision.
Colin, if I may, we're not making a decision on, we're going to declare intent.
I understand, Fred.
Okay.
I don't think we have enough information
Okay.
to
Your
decide that we would
I
entertain
understand.
an
Your opinion
ordinance.
is you don't have enough information to make that decision. I got it. I understand. And there will be 2 more bites at the apple. Am I right?
You'll have a first reading and a second.
First reading and second reading to be able to say no again and again. And in between that time, Bob will be back with the planning and zoning guys, and they will have a chance to weigh in. I'm curious as to why, if this is such a contentious issue, and it is, why didn't the planning and zoning member come and talk to us tonight?
I don't believe a motion was put forward at Planning and Zoning Board to dictate someone to come here tonight.
Okay, and I don't know how that works, but it just seems reasonable if it's such a contentious issue with all sorts of city interest in it. And I don't know how we do that institutionally going forward, but it would be great if the city manager and the senior planner could figure out, because we would be well informed to listen to. I mean, I was there, I played the tape, I got what the deliberation was, but it'd be good to hear it, and the citizens to hear live what their planning and zoning group did, or any group, any board or committee that we have, that we go the opposite direction of, or have the opportunity to go the opposite direction. Not having them here, their chairman or a representative, to tell their story seems reasonable to me. Are there any protected trees on this property? Is this, I've walked it, from the perimeter. I can't get in it because it's got a thicket of Brazilian peppers, but I can't see whether there's, is there any protected trees, any historic trees?
There's a lot of palm trees. There's some palm trees in there, and there's like some scrubs, scrub type of oak types.
Okay, good enough. And just for clarity, City Manager, we're forbidden, as it sits today in our hands as custodians of it, as Assistant City Manager has explained to me today, are we allowed to do anything other than make it a road right now? Is that what the...
Either a road or utilities.
Okay. And so there is no public use for it today? You don't plan to put, are you planning to put a road there?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, readdressed from anybody?
I think I was pretty clear.
All right, you got yours.
So I will
Yes,
say
sir.
that I support sending it back to the Planning and Zoning Board if they want to take a look at that. There was a technical thing that I was having a little confusion with on that, but
Is there a motion? I'm looking to Commissioner Hartman.
Motion to approve 8B.
There's a motion to
The
approve
vacation of
8B as written, and I'll
Second.
read it.
Commissioner Hartman?
For clarity, and if it doesn't cut it, City Clerk, you just tell me. Resolution 0224, to consider the adoption of a resolution which, if adopted, would express the intent of the City Commission to vacate a portion of platted Cooper Street. The section of unopened right-of-way is located at south of East 3rd Avenue between South Peninsula Avenue and Saxon Boulevard. There have a motion. Is there a second?
I would like to second that, but do we have it with the intent to go back to P and Z? Do we need to include
We
that?
have a motion and a second. Now we can discuss it. I think the intent is after this, it does go back to Mr. Mathan and the P&Z, and we will hear from them. If I have the Assistant Attorney's words right, is that we will not discuss this again until we've heard back from P&Z.
I think we'd need a motion from the board to send it back to P and Z, but continue forward with the ordinances.
Can we do them, can we do two different motions?
We could do it separately.
All right, let's do that.
I don't know if,
I don't want to complicate it, I'd like to make it simple and clear. Okay, we have a motion to approve, and then we expect a follow-on motion to direct P&Z. Any other discussion? Don't want to speed this any faster than you guys are ready for it. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Vice Mayor Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion carries. Is there a motion to direct,
Make a motion that we direct staff to take this back to the Planning and Zoning Board for a vote prior to us seeing the ordinance.
a motion to have the P&Z look at this before a first or second reading? Is there a second?
Second?
Is there discussion? Okay. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Perine?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you all for navigating that with us. Okay, now the exciting section, which is first readings. Madam Assistant City Attorney, would you please read each ordinance for the first time by title only? Second readings and public hearing will be conducted on January 23rd at the regular City Commission meeting.
ordinance numbers 01-24, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, amending the City of New Smyrna Beach Municipal Police Officers Retirement Plan, amending Section 4.07, Supplemental Benefit Component for Special Benefits, Chapter 185, Share Accounts, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. Second reading is January 23rd of 2024. Ordinance number 0224, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, annexing .21 plus or minor acres of property located on the east side of Hickory Street, north of Julia Street, addressed as 201 Hickory Street, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filing, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second hearing and public hearing is January 23rd of 2024. Ordinance number 0324, or an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .21 plus or minor acres of land located on the east side of Hickory Street, north of Julia Street, addressed as 209 Hickory Street, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for an amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for a public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinance, and providing an effective date. Second hearing and public hearing will be January 23rd of 2024. Ordinance number 0424, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, rezoning .21 acres of property located at the east side of Hickory Street, north of Julia Street, addressed as 209 Hickory Street, from Volusia County R-4A, urban single-family residential airport overlay, to city R2A, single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing, January 23rd of 2024. Ordinance number 0524, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach annexing .14 plus or minor acres of property located on the southwest corner of Mary Avenue and Milford Place, addressed as 1100 Mary Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing required filing, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing, January 23rd of 2024. Ordinance number 0624, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .14 plus or minor acres of land located on the southwest corner of Mary Avenue and Milford Place, addressed as 1100 Mary Avenue, from Volusia County urban medium density to city medium density residential, providing for an amendment of the associated comprehensive map to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, provided conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second hearing and public hearing is January 23rd of 2024. Ordinance number 0724, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .14 acres of the property located on the southwest corner of Mary Avenue and Milford Place, addressed as 1100 Mary Avenue, from Volusia County R4A urban single-family residential airport overlay to city R2A single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing, January 23rd of 2024. Ordinance number 0824, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach granting a non-exclusive franchise to We Got This Hauling LLC, doing business as WGT Hauling, to provide construction and demolition debris removal service within the City of New Smyrna Beach, outlining franchisees' duties, providing terms and conditions under which such franchisees shall operate, providing for severability, providing for conflicting ordinance, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing, January 23rd of 2024.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. And that concludes new business and first readings. There are no boards or commissions to report out, or do you have something to report, ma'am?
Very quick update.
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to let you know and also ask you for your assistance. If you know any citizens that would like to apply for a board, we have 7 boards with vacancies. A couple of them have ex officio members or alternate members, but a real quick rundown: Animal Control Board, Airport Advisory Board, Building Trades Board, Code Compliance Board, Economic Development Task Force, Planning and Zoning Board, and Turnbull Creek Land Preservation Committee. I will say the P&Z Board is for their 8th member ex officio for a Volusia County school board member. And so, any questions? I have this list, and Phil is working with me to advertise it, but just wanted your assistance if you knew anybody.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Now on to mayor and commission reports. Vice Mayor Puri.
I just have a short one. I was surprised at the feedback we got from this vacancy for this strip of land. And I received a letter today, actually, to my personal home residence. and it was 2 pages long, and no name, no return address. And you know what I'm going to do with this is tear it up, because I don't know if this person is from Orlando or where they're from. I'm not going to read something without a name or an address so that I know you're a real citizen. So please make sure you send it to the city so that it gets put in public notice, on public records, and put your name on here, because I'm not going to read something if I don't know if you're a citizen or not.
Appreciate that. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Martin.
Well, I'm hoping everybody had good holidays, and my short comments tonight are simply, I've spent the last 5 weeks in an onslaught of comments about the Flagler Commons with the residents, the constituents, the neighborhood people, beachside saying, no, you can't do this to me. People on Jessamine are putting their houses up for sale because they're concerned about this. And the amazing number of calls, emails, texts saying, please do not vacate this property, preferably make it a pocket park, but do nothing, but don't give it away. So that's been a very busy few weeks with those. And a lot of the people who vote here are telling me how they feel, our voters.
Thank you, ma'am. You bet. Commissioner McGurk.
I'll echo the sentiment. I hope everybody had a very good holiday, and we're starting off a whole new year. I'm excited about that. I think there's a lot of issues to tackle, and I look forward to it with this group. I drive around and I'm like, gosh, I got to bring this up and I got to bring that up. And I do want to echo one thing. I've been a strong proponent of creating ways for locals to get around on our little local road network. We need some major intersection improvements. The most important being 44 and Mission Road, and we're chugging away at that. I'm lighting matches under Khalid's shoes to try to figure out a way we can get that done quicker, because it's been out there for a long time. But I want to stress, little improvements and little back roads around town make a huge difference in how we get around this town. And even though it may only end up being a minute or two, it's the frustration that you have for that minute or two that you don't have anymore. And so there's been some isolated areas around town where we put 4-way stop signs, or you put a little right-hand turn lane in. And it's amazing how it makes your day better by not creating frustration. So the big projects are always sexy, but for 2024, I'm gonna hit hard little local transportation networks that we can improve with our own money. That will make a big difference in the quality of our lives, the residents. Thank you. That's all I had to say.
Appreciate that. Commissioner Hartman.
So I also echo, I hope everybody had a good holiday season, and looking forward to a prosperous 2024. I do have one point of information is that our member for the TPO, our Citizens Advisory Committee, has contacted me and said that they may no longer be able to serve on that committee. So if anybody has any ideas on who citizens that may have an interest in that, if they'll let me know, I'll reach out to them and kind of give them a heads up of what's going on. Hopefully that we can have somebody, before the current member actually comes off that board, we'll have somebody in place to replace him. One of the other items in the news, if you haven't noticed, is that one of the Orange City vice mayor actually resigned from office due to some legislative issues that's going forward. And in such, he had to resign from the TPO because he's no longer an elected official. And he was a very strong member of that TPO organization, very aware of road activity, road issues, mobility, trails, worked very closely Orange City worked very closely with the Berry in creating some of the cross-state trails that we have that come through our county. And he will surely be missed, from not being on that board anymore. And I think that's one of those unintended legislative actions that we may all face, in the coming months. So I certainly want to give a shout out to him, Mr. O'Connor, for all of his work on the TPO board. And so with that, I thank you.
Sir, I appreciate that. I was struck by the great deliberation that we were able to conduct tonight on at least the first issue, and Commissioner Martin brought up the second issue, which will be another robust conversation. So I think it's good, and it's good for the public to hear that we are doing our best to vet the issues and to do the best work that we know how to do in the name of what's best for the city. And so this is your government at work. And so there would be some that would speed things along, and if we're in private industry, things can go more quickly. But this is the slow movement and deliberation that needs to take place when we're talking about the public good and the public trust. So I'm happy about how we're conducting ourselves. I was able to attend, along with the city manager, the roundtable of Volusia County elected officials yesterday, and representatives from Senator Rubio's office and Representative Walt's office were there. The two topics that you need to hear about, and we'll have these presentations sent to each of the commission and put it up on the city website, were insurance and property values in the area and in Volusia County, put on by Brown & Brown. Senior Vice President, Executive Vice President Steve Farmer was up there with mostly status quo of how bad it is if you're a commercial property or a residential property trying to buy insurance. And then a little glimmer of hope at the end where Lloyd's of London, the major reinsurer for many states in our country, are going to come back into Florida, which will allow our insurance companies to have confidence to lower their rates so that we could all afford to buy insurance for our properties. I encourage Senator Rubio's representative and Representative Walsh's representative to use the full power of our Congress to assist Florida in making the sunshine bright on would-be evildoers that drive these rates up. Further, I asked Mr. Farmer to use the full power of Brown & Brown Insurance Company, the 6th largest in the world, to use their power and influence to do the same. The second was an amazing conversation by Ginger Adair, the Environmental Management Division Director, and she spoke eloquently about a plan of containment and resiliency of each of our cities, both inland and beachside, for rising sea levels. Most of us think that sea levels, and including me until this briefing, that we're all victim to the ocean coming in, and those of us that are inland have no problem. The truth is the water levels are rising equal amounts at the edges and in the center of the state. And so this was a multi-million-dollar grant effort that our county is leading the way in, that we will participate in, to get remediation and insight from scientists on what we can do to preserve our ever-shrinking land. So those are very good presentations and very good topics brought to us by the chair, Nancy Miller, the mayor of Daytona Beach Shores, and Lois Baritsky, the mayor of Ponce Inlet. Speaking of those two cities and many others in our county, tagging on to Commissioner Hartman, the Form 6 debate and conversation, which is not a debate anymore, it's a reality, is taking good legislators out of the mix, and may do that going forward, and may stem others from joining in. All in favor of the sunshine of would-be collusion about a member elected official making a decision to feather their own nest. I got that loud and clear. But if you've seen Form 6, and I'm studying it myself, it is a full examination of anyone's net worth to the nth degree, which has turned people off. Mayor Miller at Daytona Beach Shores has herself and I think one other commissioner left, maybe two other commissioners left. All the others have resigned, and it's happening all over the state. It's a disappointment for me. I'm glad to be back here for our final year, final session together. I'm glad to have my colleagues alongside as we go and tackle things that the city has been looking for a long, long time. Parking resolution, transportation, mobility, I think that's an awesome undertaking, and the economic development of our community to offset the 90-10 tax base on residents' backs. And I think those two are great items that we'll be taking up as we go forward with many proposals that we've heard at the tail end of 2023. With that, I'm done, and I turn it over to the City Clerk. Madam City Clerk, any more for your report, ma'am?
Yes, just wanted to let you know that Colin and I and Sharon are attending a seminar training class on the 19th of January at the Supervisor of Elections, and we'll bring you back some information about those Form 6 information. Also, there is a 2024 State of the County on February 14th, which is a Wednesday. I wanted to make sure everybody knew that at noon. And it's going to be held at the Center at Deltona, and I can send you more information on that. I happen to see that in a newsletter.
Thank you very much. Madam Assistant City Attorney, any report from you, ma'am?
No report.
Okay, we wish Carrie her best as she recovers. Mr. City Manager, your report, sir.
Just one note. We received quite a bit of emails. There's quite a bit of social media activities regarding the Flagler Commons project. And I guess the comments were like, it's a done deal. So I just want to publicly say that this was a concept, an idea by a business or a property owner on Flagler Avenue that approached the commission and approached us, and we hadn't made the presentation here. It's a long way from that project to be there's quite a bit of legal issues, there's quite a bit of work needs to be done. So it's not a done deal yet. We are working with him, and it would come back to the commission for an approval, and I'm sure that there'll be throughout the process will be coming to the commission in every step of the way. So I just want to publicly make sure that it's not a done deal yet. So, thank you.
That's really, really good. For those that would interject sinister activity and behind-the-scenes activity, I think we demonstrated tonight certainly led by Commissioner Hartman, a sincere desire to be as transparent as we possibly can and demonstrate that we are taking due caution, due time, and a measured approach and on every single decision. And many fault us for being so slow, but I am personally delighted to see that we are taking the approach that we're taking. And so for those that would speculate that any of those proposals, you had another proposal on a business center out west of town. None of that is soup yet. All of it has to be vetted over and over again before we get there. Thank you very much for all your reports. And without any objection, we are adjourned.